Hey YouTube, good news and bad news. The bad news is this week is Master League Open and a second week of Spring Cup. So it's either the XL Legendary League or a repeat limited Great League Cup. That's bad news. The good news is this cup was just on for a week, and I have some teams already. I have a couple more videos shot for next week already because I have played lots of this league already, which means that I know the meta down very, very well. So you can go check out those teams that I've already posted and stay tuned for the teams that are coming up. But what I'm going to do in this video is actually just go through, I've probably used about 20 to 25 of the Pokemon that you are going to see on this top list, as high as Weezing all the way down to I tried Kingdra at 125 and other things in between, Seaking at 52. So I've tried quite a bit. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over what I think the top 10 Pokemon are for this meta. Based on how well they play. I won't go in order because I do think Weezing's probably top 10, but I probably put it closer to number 10. So I'll try to do what I think is like an order-ish, but I won't do like this is Ferrothorn's number 1, but like Ferrothorn's a top 3. And the reason Ferrothorn is a top 3 is because of its type, primarily its typing. Having the steel typing really helps you in this meta. So you already were resisting grass with the grass typing. So now you double resist grass with the steel. You're already resisting water. So there's two of the weaknesses that there's two of the things that you're resisting. And with that steel typing, you're resisting fairy. And hello, this meta is a grass, water, fairy meta. So you have 3 typing resistances. You have 2 weaknesses, fire and fighting. There's a couple fire. There's like Mawile as like the fast move fighter, and then there's Galarian Weezing, which we need to watch for the overheat. And there is what is also going to be on the list, Roserade with Weather Ball. So those are the big ones. And then fighting, basically just Poliwrath as your main counter user. So those are the things you really need to watch out for. And if you look in the losses, that's basically what you see, right? Anything with the fire. Abomasnow is just going to outpace you, and some of the flyers. I'll get to the flyers in a minute. Otherwise, you're pretty safe all around, and then you have a lot of the wins against a lot of what you're going to see as meta Pokemon. So Ferrothorn, definitely one that you should be thinking about and building around. The second one that I've seen the most and I think is the safest is Tentacruel. And again, you benefit from your typing. So 3 typings in this meta: fairy, water, and grass. As a water typing, you're weak to grass, but as a secondary poison typing, you resist the grass. So that neutralizes your grass right off the bat. Your poison resists the fairy, and your water resists the water. So, plus the water resists the fire, which is like, that's kind of where the other part is in here. So right off the bat, you do very, very well just based on your typing alone. Barely any, I don't even know if there is an electric. Like barely any psychic, like 1 or 2 ground Pokemon. So very, very strong there. And then your moveset is basically the other thing. Everyone's mostly running Poison Jab, Acid Spray, Scald. Poison Jab is just outside of a couple steals like Ferrothorn and Empoleon. Yeah, everything else pretty much takes at least neutral, if not super effective, to Poison Jab. So you're just basically overpowering with the Poison Jabs. And that's basically what you're going to see in the analysis here, right? 12 and 7. Your losses are to the steals, Ferrothorn. Jellicent's I haven't really seen, and then Lanturn as an electric. And then, yeah, like you hit even Mawile, because even though Mawile is a steel and resists the poison, you also resist the fire, right? So quite a lot of wins here, quite a lot of grass running around this meta. So Tentacruel has been very, very strong to use. So that's sort of the top 2 for me. Those are just the top 2 that are on a ton of teams. I will also say Roserade is probably a top 3 for me, even though it's ranked 31. I'm using it. So Bullet Seed is a recommended moveset. You can use Poison. I'm using Poison Jab. And if you want to watch that, I did a video earlier this week. The trade-off is damage in Poison Jab with a decent energy versus a way quicker energy, but no damage. Weather Ball, fire is a must just because how strong it is in this meta. Tons of grass. So it kills it there. I use Grass Knot. You can use Leaf Storm. Difference is 5 less energy for Grass Knot, way more harder hitting for Leaf Storm, but lowers your attack times 2. It probably doesn't look great in the one shield. 11 to 10, not bad. This is one that you probably use with shield advantage. So in the 1v0, 18 and 3, and the 2v1, you're probably pretty spammy. Same thing, 18 and 3. There's just some things like fire and stuff that just does super effective to you. Fire Fang, Air Slash, Powder Snow, and you're just so glassy, it's just going to overpower you. But for the most part, you're so spammy. And just like in the even shields, still a lot of good ones. Like that flyers and stuff that's just going to outpace, like just take you down fast move. But again, Poliwrath, Lanturn, Ferrothorn, Tentacruel. There's a lot of good wins on here for Roserade. So it's been pretty strong for me. I've used it on a couple teams now. So Ferrothorn, Tentacruel, and Roserade are 3 that I think are in the top. In terms of safe swaps, I think there are 3 that you could use that I think are very, very strong. The first one is Poliwrath. Note Dynamic Punch, which really gives it a lot of play in this meta, right? Because your hardest counters are going to be Lanturn. Lanturn's going to be your biggest one, but if you have a Dynamic Punch off that, you can do some chip there. Like just Shadow Vic, you can't do anything. You're just going to get Razor Leaf too fast. But even some of these other ones, again, I haven't seen really any Ninetales. I haven't seen really any Gel Sense Superior. I've seen a couple Tropius. You could still kind of hang in there with what are bad matchups because of your Icy Wind, right? So being able to throw Icy Winds against the against the Grass type Pokemon, which is super effective. Now having a Dynamic Punch for some of these what otherwise would be resisted, like Dewgong, if you just had Scald Icy Wind, having a super effective Dynamic Punch there is huge. Able to pick up quite a few wins there. So it's very, again, yes, you can get hit with a Shadow Vic or something, but for the most part, Poliwrath has been very, very, very safe with that counter Icy Wind Dynamic Punch combo on the safe swap. Another thing I've used very safely is Dewgong. Right, you know, for those of you who've used Dewgong before, it is very safe generally in the Open Great League, and the same thing holds here. It is tanky, and it has your coverage, right? It has your Ice Shard, Icy Wind for your grass, which are going to come after you. It has your Drill Run for steals and neutral situations. And yeah, it's just generally very safe. So 11 and 10 there. If you come in and get like 1 Ice Shard advantage, you pick up a win there. If you maybe get 2, you pick up a couple more wins, right? And that's just in the 1 shield. And then you can, if you want 2 shield, and try and flip switch. So Dewgong with its bulk, moveset, and moveset coverage really makes it safe. And the other thing I used it on the lead in one of my videos. Seaking, basically same idea. Not as bulky as Dewgong, but it has some decent bulk. Same coverage move, Drill Run, Icy Wind, same coverage move. And then Poison Jab, right? So a really hard hitting fast move. So you have the harder hitting fast move with the same charge moves. You don't have, with the same, actually not the same typing, the other one is half ice as well. So just being water is probably better because you don't pick up if you have ice, you don't pick up the fighting weakness and you don't pick up the neutralizing fire weakness, right? So not weakness, but like you resist fire, but if you were half ice, you neutralize fire. So it's actually quite strong. Plays very similar to Dewgong. You do need these legacy moves, Poison Jab, Drill Run, Icy Wind, Triple Legacy, which again, if you don't have access to that, obviously Dewgong is better for that. So 3 super strong Pokemon that I would just use all the time, Ferrothorn, Tentacruel, and Roserade. 3 safe swaps that I've been using, Poliwrath, Seaking, and Dewgong. So the other 4 that I'm going to highlight here, I will highlight Weezing. It is number 1. So I'm going to be honest. I've used this thing tried it on 4 teams and I've only successfully got it on 1. And basically how you need to use it, it's somewhat bait dependent. Because overheat is where all the damage comes from, right? The overheat is a nuke. 55 energy, 130 damage, 2.36, but it lowers your attack times 2. Brutal Swing's not a good move. 40 energy, 65 damage for 1.63. So if you're in a situation where overheat is resisted, you're looking at a losing matchup, right? So Tentacruel, even Walrein and Dewgong are neutral to fire, and that's still a thing. And then Pelipper, Lanturn, right? So kind of weak there. Where it is strong is because it is quick charging, right? Fairy Wind, 4.5 energy per turn. So basically one Fairy Wind gives you 9 energy, which means 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54. So just short of an overheat in 6. So you'll get in 7. Just be able to like one shot all the grass pretty much makes it huge. So you can lead it and overheat and bail into one of the safe swaps. That's what I've seen a lot of people do, which is why Weezing is so strong. Again, a lot of these wins are probably because you lower your attack times 2. It probably is you need to potentially base a brutal swing and then land an overheat, or just overheat and bail. So just keep that in mind if you're going to use it. I do think it is strong. I just haven't had, again, a lot of success with it because it does sometimes rely on the bait of brutal swing, and other times it's just overheat and bail in that sort of situation. I'm going to go to Tropius next because I just built one up, and it's interesting because it's a flyer grass. So what that helps you with is having that flying grass typing in a meta which only has 3 typings, and one of them is grass itself, basically gives you a huge advantage on the grass type Pokemon immediately, right? So you should really beat all the grass except for probably Roserade. It's funny that Roserade's not even in this meta analysis because it should be. Abomasnow, I'll talk about Abomasnow next. But that's, yeah, so like the ice, because you're double weak to ice, you add that flying, makes you double weak to ice, so the ice are going to kill you. And then the poison, you are weak to poison, so that kind of hurts you. Other than that, you got some bulk, you got some coverage, right? You can deal with grass to a certain extent. You can deal with waters. You have a grass, leaf blade, and aerial ace combo. So from that just coverage standpoint, it makes you very, very strong. Another one that's I have not used yet, but I've seen it on many, many teams is Empoleon. Empoleon with that secondary steel typing basically gets the same strengths as Ferrothorn, adding on a ton of resistances and double resistances, stuff like that. So that is the positive of the steel typing. Again, Steel Wing is a bonus for it in this meta that you are doing now. Super effective to fairies like Weezing, and neutral to grass. So that is beneficial over the waterfall. Trade-off, I mean, waterfall is resisted by water anyways, but Steel Wing is resisted by water as well. So that doesn't add a ton of strength in the neutral water matchups. And pretty much most water Pokemon I've used against Empoleon, I've won. So you actually, as a water Pokemon, Empoleon need to watch out for other waters more than you need to watch out for grass, which is kind of counterintuitive, but keep that in mind. I've seen it a few times. There's that. Let's talk about Abomasnow. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else. There's at least 2 more I want to show, so it's probably more than 10. Abomasnow was a really tricky one because, again, ice grass gives you many strengths. It gives you coverage on, you do super effective against grass with the ice. You do super effective against water with the grass. You're very, very spammy. All these are strengths. There's a lot of poison in this meta. And the good news is with Roserade, you're also hitting super effective. But Tentacruel's everywhere. And now Empoleon with Steel Wing. Steel hits super effective against ice. So it's kind of tough from that perspective. There's still Medis out. God, why do I keep calling Medi? Because Medi was just so meta for so long. There's still a lot of Poliwraths out there. And fire, double weak to fire. So between the fires and the fighting and the flying, I just covered a couple of them. And the poisons, which are everywhere, and the steals, it's just like you got a lot of weaknesses in this meta. And the trade-off is like you do great against a lot of things, but you get killed by a lot of things, which makes it like very fast damage, heavy damage output, and heavy damage taking. And that's kind of what happened when Abomasnow was on my first team, and that was the thing. Like I lost lead in how many matches did I showcase? Like 10 matches, 11 matches. I lost lead 80% of the time because I just got matched up with like a bunch of Empoleon, a bunch of Tentacruel, Poliwrath, and you lose all of them. You have to safe swap, which makes it tricky to use from that perspective. So I think it is strong, but just like that's why I put it like towards the bottom, because like you do have a lot of weaknesses. 2 more I want to talk about. I use Trevenant. Trevenant is another one where it's just like I think it's strong in the fact that you have grass coverage because you resist pretty much all the grass moves coming at you. That you're going to beat pretty much all the grass Pokemon except for the ones with fire that will hit you quick. So you can beat the grass Pokemon. You have a grass move for ice type, for water type Pokemon. There's a lot of water that are also ice in here, so that makes you weak there. And then you do okay against like the couple fairies that you see. So from that perspective, like you do okay. That's the thing. It wasn't like overpowering and it wasn't bad. Like 10-10 record. That's kind of how it feels, how it plays. Like it's kind of a neutralish. I'd put it like 10, maybe like closer to 12 in my rankings. It just kind of plays neutralish. So I use it as a safe swap on one of my teams. And I think it kind of plays as like maybe like a 5th best safe swap in this meta. So Trevenant, if you want like a general safe swap, there's no darks in here to resist it. There's no normal typings in here really to resist it. So from that perspective, you're pretty much hitting neutral with Shadow Claw all the time. And if you get hit with like an Ice Water, you'll have Seed Bomb. If you get hit with something else, you'll have Shadow Ball. So it's pretty good, but not overpowering in any sense. And 2 more I want to cover. Golisopod I just used. I would put Golisopod in the top 5 safe swap as well, just because that's kind of its role anyways. Interesting X Scissor and Airlace. That does make sense. So I used first X Scissor and Liquidation. I used X Scissor and Liquidation to start, and then I switched to Airlace Liquidation because Airlace has better coverage for X Scissor and Airlace both do super effective on grass, but Airlace does super effective on Poliwrath, whereas opposed to X Scissor and Liquidation, which were resisted. X Scissor Airlace is actually pretty smart because Liquidation is going to be resisted on the water and Liquidation is going to be resisted on the grass. So really you're only using Liquidation on like Galarian Weezing. I use Carbink. It's not amazing. So there's not a lot of fairies outside of that. So it does make sense to have 2 quicker moves. X's are the harder hitting one. Airlace, the quicker charging one. Oh no, they're both the same. So 40 and 55 and 40 and 78. So X's is the one you'll always throw in neutral situations. And then if it's resisted, or you can hit super effective with like Airlace, then you probably do that. Do you do that? What's 20% of that? I don't even know if 20% added on. You probably still do X Scissor in neutral. Anything neutral situation, I think you do X Scissor. And then if it's resisted, then you do Airlace. I think that's the trade-off. So you can use it. Yeah, just generally it's safe. And the last one I want to talk about is Lanturn. I use Lanturn on my first team. And there are a million right down here. There are a million, in particular, Tentacruel, Dewgong, Poliwrath, and Weezings, right? So to take care of that meta there is huge. Obviously, you have no answer to grass, and hello, the rest of the meta is grass. So that's a trade-off. It's like a lot of hard wins, a lot of hard losses. So I think it's definitely worth playing because, again, look at the meta that I went over that I said I would use constantly, and it is like Poliwrath, Dewgong, back to Spring Cup, please. Interesting that they're not. Like Weezing, Empoleon, Tentacruel, Dewgong. So there's a lot of answers that it will deal with, and then there's a lot of stuff like Ferrothorn that you're just going to get killed by. So that's kind of the trade-off, strengths and weaknesses of that Pokemon, but definitely one worth investing in. So that is the meta. Again, you can look at some teams that I've already put out for an idea of how to pair them. You can look at some teams that I have coming forward on Saturday, Sunday, and probably the rest of the week on how to use them. But those are essentially the 10 to 15 Pokemon that are really going to dominate the meta and the reasons that they dominate the meta. So I hope that was helpful. Let me know if there's a Pokemon. I didn't even talk about Mawile. I use Mawile. The reason I didn't talk about it is because it was one of those where I just said Lanturn kills or gets killed. Just times it by 5, and that's Mawile. You are going to absolutely dominate matchups, and then you are going to get killed in matchups, right? So here we go. Lanturn, 188. Tentacruel, 223. Poliwrath, 224. Pelipper 280. Like, those are, you are getting destroyed. On the other end, Ferrothorn 931, Abomasnow 893, Trevenant 739. What else did I talk about? Tropius 632 is not amazing, but it's still good. So it's really a super high risk, high reward Pokemon. I used it, and it was the same thing. Like, if I got it on a Ferrothorn, it was just like, if you get it on Ferrothorn and they have like a double grass and you just ramp up, the game's over. On the other end, if you are stuck on a Poliwrath or something, you're going to lose. So that's why it's very tough to put Pokemon like that in a top 10, because they don't have the flexibility, but definitely will be out there. And I've used it, so it will definitely be out there, because you kill Ferrothorn and you kill a couple other Pokemon. So those are the 10 to 15 Pokemon that you will see everywhere. So just know their strengths and weaknesses and build for and against them. Anyways, that is it. 1 week of this. So good luck to us all. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.